Hi everybody, this is Angie from Tourangie.com, and today is just a video of me getting on 460 here in Princeton and then heading towards Interstate 77 and driving up 77 north for a little bit till almost the Athens exit. Just driving this way, figured I'd show off this video since I'm driving this way. We'll talk a little bit about Princeton and anything else I can find about. I really don't want to talk about Athens yet because I'll be doing a video on Athens. So I'm going to just come up with some stuff about Princeton and talk about that. We have touched about the Civil War on previous Princeton videos, but I figured I would mention on the original documents, Princeton and Mercer County was not going to be considered part of West Virginia when it was originally drawn up, but later it did become part of West Virginia. Mercer County at that point was supportive of the Confederates. Now, at the time that they did have that battle here in Princeton, the Battle of Pigeon's Roost, they were told to burn all the structures, or burn as much as they could, and very few structures escaped being burnt there during the Civil War. But fortunately, county records had been moved to the Concord Church in Athens, and then were later returned back to Princeton. There was at times unsuccessful attempts to move the county courthouse back to Athens, Concord Church in Athens. But there's also been attempts in the past to move the courthouse to Bluefield. But it always came back. It always stayed in Princeton after that. Back before the Civil War, we'll talk about 1838. That's when Princeton got its first post office. And by 1860, Princeton had about 40 houses and 2 hotels. I have mentioned the rail yard in a past video. I think that was my Mercer Street video, but I'll mention it again too. In 1905, the Virginian Railway developed a shop and yards in Princeton, and that's close to Mercer Street. And that helped to make Princeton grow. In 1909, the population more than doubled from 3,027 to 6,224 by 1910. So that's pretty good. And it's really good food. So that's one of my favorites. Bellacino's, I guess, I'm not sure if that's a chain or not. I know there's one in Bluefield, Virginia, but it's really good. Their grinders are really good. But I've got to mention the Taste of Memphis, in the Kroger Plaza area. It's really good. Yummy Japan's good. It's also right there. Fish Frenzy. It's fairly new to Princeton. It's good too. And let's see, there's another one on Mercer Street called Dab's Cooking or Dab's Country Cooking. It's a fairly new restaurant too. It's pretty good too. So since we're close to the Interstate here to get on 77 off of 460, I'll talk about the West Virginia Welcome Center, Tourist Center here. It's at it's to the right, basically at the beginning of the Walmart parking lot. But it's a nice pit stop, especially if you're on the interstate and need to stop. Clean bathrooms usually, and there's a little shop in there to get some touristy West Virginia stuff. And there's also a Veterans Memorial wall there. And there's a little place where you can sit outside with some benches and stuff. So I figured I'd tell you about that. One thing I didn't mention a lot about when I was driving by the courthouse in another video is that there is a war memorial or a war museum there near the courthouse. You'll see a tank out front in that video to the war museum. But it's mostly dedicated to local heroes. If you stay on 460 instead of getting on 77, that'll take you past Oakville and down to Glenlyn, which is the state line area of West Virginia and Virginia. I've also shown bits and pieces of 460 down in Virginia on that side. The Pearisburg, Pembroke area is the way to get to Blacksburg and Christiansburg. I'll go ahead and mention this in this video. The next video I'll have up will be about the Blackwater Falls Resort, but that's where I'm heading to. So you would be taking this route basically up 77 and taking the exit here that I'll be turning this camera off on, the Athens exit, because that would be the way to Blackwater Falls Resort. But I'm doing a completely separate little video for Blackwater Falls Resort. Alright, since I'm popping on Interstate 77, I'm going to give you some information on Interstate 77, some of its history. I found a lot of actual information on it, and I may get to that, some of that very, very old stuff in future videos, but I'm going to read this to you. In 1949, Governor Oakey Patterson oversaw the creation of the Turnpike Commission, which was the start of the planning of what was to become the West Virginia Turnpike. 2 years earlier, the state legislature had appropriated funds to study the feasibility of building a superhighway comparable to projects in other states. Early proposals showed a highway stretching from Parkersburg to Princeton, while another map diagrammed a route from Wheeling to Princeton. Both of these plans, however, were shelved in a 1951 study citing the extreme cost of building a modern highway through a very unforgiving terrain as the primary reason they were shelved. The study recommended that the northern area be moved from Fair Plain just outside of Ripley, and then the southernmost be Princeton. The study also suggested that the highway should be constructed as a 2-lane rather than a 4-lane because of with future widening of the roads when money was available. So in 1951, the final alignment was chosen. The route was 22 miles shorter than the original road mileage between Charleston and Princeton, but would save motorists over 2 hours of driving between these points. The original cost was projected at $78 million, which is equivalent to like $660 million today. Let's see. When ground broke on the first segment of the turnpike in 1952, the northern terminus had once again been moved south. This time it was placed at Charleston, citing cost of primary reason. The cost was projected at $133 million, and that the funded through bonds would be repaid through a system of tolls. This included $5 million for 2-lane tunnels connecting Dawes and Standard to Standard. Construction took 2 years. After, at the cost of 5 workers, the section of the highway the southern 36 miles from Beckley to Princeton opened to traffic on September 2nd, 1954. In November, the remaining 52 miles between Charleston and Beckley opened. The new turnpike had several nicknames, including 88 miles of miracle, the engineering marvel that beat the mountains. Anyway, 6 interchanges were constructed. Initially, the road used a ticket-based tolling system. At each interchange, bridges and underpasses for the main line had extra set of graded lanes, indicating that the turnpike was expected to be widened in the future, which obviously you can tell it was. So that was back in the 50s. We're going to talk a lot more about the turnpike in future videos. I'll be driving more of the turnpike and different things, and we'll talk about some more of the history there, and we'll go back into some really long time ago history, Civil War history, back when this was part of Virginia, and we'll talk about the roads then. So this is Angie from Tourangie.com. Come to my website, read my blogs, make appointments so I can help you plan your next travel adventure. Talk to you later.